In 1971, 61% of American households were middle class. By 2023, only 51% were. That sounds like a slow decline, a gentle erosion, the kind of thing a political commentator might call worrying. Actually is. Roughly 25 million American households left the middle class over that period. Most of them didn't move up. Most of them moved down. The American middle class did not shrink by accident. It did not fail to produce enough strivers. It was not outcompeted by some new generation of slackers. It was purchased. In case file 001, I showed you the price tag on a middle-class life. $284,000 a year. Only 7% of households can clear it. The obvious question is, where did that middle class go? The less obvious question, the one this file is going to answer, is, who bought it? If you're new here, my name is Cipher. I left the system. Now, I decode it. Every week on CipherHedge, we open one case file, one piece of American economic machinery that most people never see working against them. Hit subscribe before this video ends, because once you see who actually bought the middle class, you can't unsee it. And the 3 receipts I'm about to lay out are not going away. Let's open the file. This is not a story about mistakes. Every middle-class household that vanished between 1985 and 2025 vanished because a specific counterparty, a specific buyer, was on the other side of the trade. Wealth never evaporates. It moves. So tonight I'm going to hand you 3 receipts. Receipt 1. The institutional landlords who bought the American starter home. Receipt 2. The private equity firms that bought the American service economy. Your dentist, your ER, your mobile home park, your veterinarian. Receipt 3. The asset holders who, through no effort of their own, captured almost all of the appreciation the middle class was supposed to earn. 3 buyers, 1 vanishing class. Let's open them in order. For most of the 20th century, if you wanted to buy a house in America, your main competition was another family, another household, another set of wages. That is no longer true. Since 2012, the largest buyers of single-family homes in the fastest-growing U.S. metros have not been families. They have been funds, investment vehicles, insurance company balance sheets, private equity-owned rental operators who bought homes in bulk, turned them into rentals, and now collect the cash flow the previous owners would have accumulated as equity. Their names are public. Invitation Homes, ticker INVH on the New York Stock Exchange, owned by Blackstone before its 2017 spin-off, today the largest single-family rental operator in America. American Homes for Rent, ticker AMH, second largest, founded by the same investor who built Public Storage. Progress Residential, owned by Pretium Partners, a private operator, but its scale is documented in industry research and county recorder data. Tricon Residential, a publicly traded SFR operator until June 2024, when Blackstone took it private in an $11 billion transaction. And Home Partners of America. Blackstone bought it in 2021 for $6 billion in cash. These are not allegations. Every one of those entities is required to publish what it owns and what it charges. We are reading their own filings on the screen right now. In Atlanta today, roughly 1 in 4 single-family rental homes is owned by a large institutional operator. In Charlotte, Phoenix, Tampa, and Jacksonville, the number sits between 15 and 20%. A decade ago, in every one of those metros, it was under 5. When a 29-year-old teacher with a 30-year mortgage pre-approval makes an offer on the same house as a fund that can pay cash, waive inspection, and close in 7 days, the teacher does not lose because the teacher is unprepared. The teacher loses because the game was never symmetrical. And here is the compound effect. When a family buys a home, the monthly mortgage payment is roughly half interest and half principal, which means the family is buying equity every month. 30 years in, the family owns the house outright. Call it $300,000 of net worth, built invisibly, automatically, by the act of living somewhere, When a fund buys that same home and rents it back, that exact same monthly payment, in the form of rent, builds zero equity for the tenant. Zero. Multiply that by 15 million American rental households, who, a generation earlier, would have been homeowners. That's $1/3 of $1 trillion of middle-class wealth that simply ceased to form. Now let me show you what this looks like in one household. Meet Maria. Maria is 41 years old. She has been teaching 5th grade in the same Houston school district for 17 years. Her husband Luis fixes residential air conditioning. In Texas, a non-trivial skill. Combined household income, $92,000. In 2008, that income bought a 3-bedroom starter home in a middle-class Houston suburb. I know because that's exactly the home Maria's parents bought at the same income bracket, adjusted for inflation, in 1991. Maria's household does not own a home. In 2018, Maria and Luis rented a 3-bedroom house in a family neighborhood. Their rent was $1,850 a month. The owner was a retired couple in Dallas who had inherited the property. In 2022, the retired couple sold. The buyer was a fund. Specifically, the buyer was a Delaware limited liability company. The deed is on file at the county recorder. Trace the LLC back through Texas Secretary of State filings, and you arrive at one of the named Sunbelt operators we just put on the screen. The same operator class, the same playbook, the same rent escalation cadence. Rent in 2022, $2,100. Rent in 2023, $2,300. Rent in 2024, $2,450. Rent in 2025, $2,600. Rent in 2026, $2,750 a month, plus a new monthly resident benefit package of $32 for services Maria cannot opt out of. Over 4 years, Maria's rent went up $900 a month. That is $11,000 a year. That is more than Maria's annual teaching raise, her husband's annual raise, and their tax refund combined. Every year, compounding, forever. Maria does everything right. She shows up, she teaches 5th grade, she coaches the school's reading intervention program after hours. Luis works 6 days a week in the Texas heat. And every April, the rent renewal letter arrives with a new number that does not care. Maria's household saving rate across the last 4 years is approximately 0. Not because she is extravagant, because every additional dollar of her raise and every additional dollar of Luis's raise was immediately absorbed by the fund that owns her roof. The fund did not break a law. The fund made a rational business decision with the leverage it had. Maria's generational wealth did not disappear. It was transferred. And the transfer is visible on a balance sheet in an office building in Manhattan. Receipt number 2 is quieter, and for that reason, worse. Since 2010, American private equity firms have deployed more than $1 trillion specifically into buying up the services that middle-class households consume every month. Your dentist, your dermatologist, the ER staffing company at your local hospital, your veterinarian, the dialysis center that keeps your father alive, the nursing home that takes care of your grandmother, the mobile home park where your cousin lives, the self-storage unit you rent when you move, the funeral home you will eventually visit. In every one of those categories, the quiet story of the last 15 years is the same. And here too, the buyers are nameable. Heartland Dental, acquired in successive rounds by KKR and Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, the largest dental support organization in America. Aspen Dental, owned by Leonard Green and Partners. Smile Brands, Welsh, Carson, Anderson, and Stowe. Veterinary, VCA Animal Hospitals, acquired by Mars Incorporated in 2017 for $9.1 billion. Compassion First Pet Hospitals and NVA, JAB Holding. Home Services, Wrench Group, Leonard Green again. Service Logic, Carlisle. Apex Service Partners, Alpine Investors. Mobile Home Parks, Sun Communities, ticker SUI, and Equity Lifestyle Properties, ticker ELS, publicly traded, with disclosed lot rent escalation. A private equity firm acquires 60 to 80 independent operators in a region, say, dental practices or HVAC companies. It consolidates them under a single holding entity, often keeping the original local brand name on the door so you don't notice. It removes price transparency. You no longer get an honest quote in advance. You get an invoice after. And then, quietly, predictably, it raises prices 15 to 40% over 3 to 5 years. Peer-reviewed studies in the Journal of the American Medical Association and Brookings analyses consistently find that within 24 months of a private equity acquisition, the average healthcare practice raises prices around 20%, without any measurable improvement in care, often with measurable deterioration. Multiply that margin across dental visits, dermatology biopsies, emergency room charges, dialysis hours, and veterinary bills, and you have a second invisible tax on the American middle class, paid monthly, extracted to a shareholder you will never meet. The middle class didn't buy fewer services, it paid more for the same ones, to fewer, more concentrated owners. Receipt number 3 is the largest and the least visible. Between 2010 and 2025, the S&P 500 rose roughly 400%. U.S. home values roughly doubled. Private market valuations expanded even faster. Over the same 15 years, real median household wages rose about 20%. If you owned the assets during those 15 years, stocks, real estate, private market stakes, your net worth compounded at a rate wages simply cannot match. If you did not, you watched from the outside as the price of everything you were trying to save toward moved beyond your reach. The top 10% of American households own 87% of the U.S. stock market. The bottom 50% own about 1% of it. So when someone on television tells you, the market had a great decade, that is not a statement about America. That is a statement about the 10% of America that owns the market. In 1970, the American middle class captured 62% of aggregate national income. In 2022, it captured 43%. The top 20% picked up almost all of the difference. And here too, the largest asset holders are nameable. Blackstone Inc., ticker BX on the New York Stock Exchange, is the largest alternative asset manager in the world. As of its most recent 10K, the firm reports more than $1 trillion in assets under management, of which roughly $336 billion is real estate. That is not a slogan. That is a number disclosed in their own annual filing. KKR, Apollo, Carlyle, Brookfield. Each of them publishes the same kind of disclosure every year. Together, their real estate and private equity AUM rose roughly in lockstep with the S&P chart we just put on the screen. The asset class compounded. The owners of the asset class are listed. We can read their names off their own SEC filings. If the receipts in front of you all read, "The buyer was a fund," here are the funds. They are listed. They are public. They file. 3 buyers, 1 vanishing class. The receipts reconcile. So what do you do with this? 3 things. None of them are politics. All of them are posture. Name the counterparty on every major check you write. When rent goes up, who owns the building? When the dentist's invoice is 20% higher, who owns the practice? When your premium rises, who owns the hospital system? You do not have to boycott anyone. You just have to stop pretending that prices rise by magic. Magic does not bid on your house. A fund does. You cannot out-earn a machine built to bid against you. You can, however, partially become the machine. Every dollar you put into a broad market index fund makes you a fractional owner of the same asset base that is compounding against Maria. 10% of gross income, relentlessly, in low-cost index ETFs. That is the foundation. Not a stock pick, a posture. But there is a sharper version of this move. The buyers we just named are publicly traded. Invitation Homes, INVH, trades on the New York Stock Exchange. American Homes for Rent, AMH, trades on the New York Stock Exchange. Sun Communities, SUI, the largest publicly traded mobile home park operator. Equity Lifestyle Properties, ELS, the second largest. Blackstone itself, BX, trades on the New York Stock Exchange. If you object to the trade these companies are running on American renters, and you should, the most coherent posture is not to shake your fist at the screen. It is to own a fractional share of their cash flow. When they raise rent, you collect a sliver of the dividend. That does not fix the system. It does, however, stop you from being on only one side of the trade. Index foundation first. Buyer-side equity exposure as a tactical overlay, sized small, single-digit % of the portfolio, never concentrated. Education, not advice. Talk to a fiduciary before you size any position. Hold on to every asset a generation before you acquired at pre-institutional prices. The inherited home, the paid-off car, the small business stake. These are wealth anchors. Do not liquidate them to solve a cash flow squeeze that index contributions and a renegotiated bill can solve instead. A fund will always make you an offer. Funds are patient. You have to be more patient than they are. Quick disclosure. When this channel names tickers, I will tell you whether I or the channel hold them. Today, positions disclosed on the screen above. Education only. Talk to a licensed fiduciary before sizing anything in your own account. This was Case File 002. Which receipt hit hardest? The institutional landlords, the private equity roll-ups, or the asset holders? Drop it in the comments. I read them. Next week, we leave the housing story behind and open a different kind of theft. Decoded 001. Inflation. The tax they never put on your paycheck. Subscribe so you don't miss it.